All righty, so it is the 11 o'clock hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone for coming to our Last Dollar Scholarship Virtual Visit Day through NIACC. Hoping you guys are having a good day, and we really appreciate you guys joining on and being a part of the visit day today. Again, this is a virtual visit day through NIACC. We will be talking a lot about some of the college information and applying in those things. But we will also be talking about specifically a scholarship called the Last Dollar Scholarship. And we have a colleague of ours that will be speaking and talking a little bit about that scholarship and how that works with certain programs at NIACC. But ultimately, welcome. Thank you very much for being here today. My name is Blake Moen. I'm an admissions representative at Northeast Iowa Community College on our Kelmer campus. I am going to be kind of the host of the visit today and working through the basic admissions information and college information. I will be co-hosted by a colleague of mine, Bailey Hemingway. Bailey is also a admissions representative at NIACC as well, and she will be working our chat box as kind of our co-host and be answering questions and such, and I'll be going over some information of that in just a second, but Bailey, again, will be kind of our co-host for today. And then lastly, I mentioned the Last Dollar Scholarship. We have a representative, Arlen Bonson-Anderson, who will be talking in particular on that. He is kind of our representative of who specializes in that scholarship, and we'll be having some information on that later in the presentation. But again, welcome and thank you very much for being here. I do want to go over just a few general housekeeping tips as we go through our visit day here first and foremost. You will see on your Zoom, somewhere on your screen, there should be a bar where you can be able to unmute or mute yourself. For the sake of this presentation, we are going to have it so that everyone will be muted during the presentation. So please just make sure that you are muted during the presentation as you're speaking. But if you have a question that comes about with a slide or comes about during the presentation at all, please feel free to either use the raise your hand feature. That is a feature that is on the bottom part of your screen and should be located for you to click on. We would then stop on that screen and be able to, you'd be able to ask your question then for us to answer. Otherwise, the chat box, like I said, Bailey will be working. That chat box is where she'll be putting announcements. She'll be putting different tidbits. That's also a place where you can put any questions that you have that we will be answering towards the end of the presentation. So please feel free to any questions you have, either use the raise your hand feature or the chat box, and we'll make sure to answer your questions there as well. The chat box will also be used for us to put a survey in towards the end of our presentation. We would love to hear how we did for the presentation, as well as be able to hear a little bit from you guys as far as what we can do to maybe improve or do better and so on. So Bailey will be putting a survey link in the chat box at the end of the presentation. Anyone who fills that out gets a free t-shirt mailed to you from NIACC. So who doesn't want free stuff if you can get your hands on it? So we will be sending that to you as well. Ooh, clicked on the wrong part. There we go. Here's our agenda for today. Obviously, right now we are doing our welcome portion. I will be diving into our admissions and college information shortly. I will then be handing it off to Arlen, who will be talking about our financial aid and the Last Dollar Scholarship and how this scholarship is very unique to specific programs at NIACC and how it can impact you strongly in a positive way with your enrollment to NIACC if you are in those programs. And then, like I said, towards the end, we will be doing a Q&A to answer any questions in the chat box, or if any questions come along the presentation for you to ask as well. So just a few facts about NIACC in general. NIACC has 70 different programs up to this date. When we first opened the college back in 1966, we only had 12. And so we've come a long way since we first opened in 1966 to where we are now with 70. Most of our programs are designed for you to come to NIACC and specialize in a training that can be completed in 2 years or less. So majority of those 70 programs are going to be in particular to, that are very widespread, but they are very in particular to maybe auto mechanic, business, marketing, health science programs like nursing or medical assistant, as well as auto mechanic, as well as advanced manufacturing programs like welding, and so on and so on. So we have a lot of different offerings with our programs. We also, though, have a lot of transfer options for you. A lot of students like to choose NICC because it is a good, more maybe easy way and maybe more affordable way for students to start at NICC and then transfer to a larger university to complete their bachelor's. So with 70 programs, you have a lot of different offerings that cover a large array of student goals. We have 8 locations at NICC. We have 2 campuses. One campus is located in Kelmer, Iowa, which is just south, about 10 miles of Decorah, Iowa, if you've ever heard of Decorah. Our other campus is in Peosta. Peosta, Iowa is located very close to Dubuque, Iowa. So if you've ever been to Dubuque or been in that area, Peosta is right next to Dubuque as well. So those are our 2 campuses. We also then have multiple centers, Cresco, Dubuque, Manchester, New Hampton, Oelwein, and Waukon. A lot of our high school students are able to take classes there, but students like yourselves may also be able to do placement testing, or any other of our certificate programs can be taken there. But most students that come to NICC will be going to either the Kelmer campus or the Peosta campus. Lastly, on this slide, at NICC, we have 5 different course options. It is the year 2020. Things change, and we're trying to adapt with you all as students with the technology that is available for you to receive your college degree. And so you're unique, you need multiple choices. So we have students that take many classes or maybe their whole program online. We have obviously face-to-face. We also have hybrid. So we have some students that may be in a program that do both. Maybe they take some classes online and then they take some face-to-face on campus, and so on and so forth. We also have 8 to 10 week class sessions. So these class sessions, of course, don't go on the whole semester, but they are late start courses that can start, so you're not taking up the full semester of a full class load through the whole semester there. These classes are usually about half the semester's worth. They might start halfway through the semester, and so on. Lastly, we have what's called Z-Course. Z-Course are great offerings for students that want to take these 8-week classes that are online and don't have any textbook costs. So a lot of students may try to look to take the Z-Course maybe in one of their semesters, maybe in the spring semester, and so on. So we have a lot of different options at NICC for students to be able to take classes, whether they're online, face-to-face, hybrid, and so on. You can see a map here where we're located. On the left-hand side in the blue, you can see the states of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Of course, Northeast Iowa Community College is in the northeast part of Iowa. The 2 large yellow dots you see on the left are where our campuses are located. The upper one is Kelmer. The lower, larger dot is Peosta. Those, again, are 2 campuses. The smaller dots around the larger ones are where our centers are located. And so, again, you can see where our different learning institutions are located across the tri-state Illinois area. On the right-hand side in yellow, you can see a little bit more of a specific breakdown of our counties and kind of our district that we have. So the stars located there for Kelmer, Peosta, again, are the campuses. And then in the blue writing for Cresco, New Hampton, Waukon, Oelwein, Manchester, and Dubuque are, of course, our centers there. So you can see that we have, we're very spread out throughout the northeastern part of Iowa, but then we're also within our district cover a lot of different counties, a lot of different space, and so on and so forth. So before we continue on, I do want to talk a little bit about community college in general and what it is and how it is very similar but different to different other colleges around the United States. So you can see a diagram here where we've got public, community, and private listed on the screen. And on the bottom, the community stands, of course, for community college, what NICC is. And I want to talk a little bit about how a community college is able, a lot of students are able then to maybe start community college, but then how it may transition to both a public and private school. So first off, I want to talk about public. So in the upper left part of your screen, you can see the public and public universities. So public universities are going to be typically your larger schools. These are typically going to be your Division I schools. So in the state of Iowa, the public universities are University of Iowa, Iowa State, and Northern Iowa. Public universities are going to be students that go there are looking to be there for 4 years. They're looking to get their bachelor's degree, but they're also working to also maybe go to a public university to receive a master's program, a doctorate program, and so on and so forth. So students may go to a public university for just a bachelor's. They may also go maybe for just a master's program, a bachelor's program, and so on. So the public university offers extended learning. Like I said, public university is going to be larger. Typically, a class size at a public university is going to be close to that 150 or maybe even higher than that. A lot of students that go to a public university may be sitting in a room where there's an instructor at the very front of the room who has large chalkboards and he's taking notes, or she's taking notes, and then behind where the students are is where they're sitting almost like in an auditorium, and they have desks and they're taking notes and so on and so forth. So public universities, again, are going to be larger. They're going to be larger class sizes. Students go there to work for a bachelor's, but there's also master's and doctorate programs there. On the right-hand side, you see private. This would be our private colleges. Some examples of our private colleges would be Luther College, Wartburg College, Coe College, Loras College, another one, Buena Vista is another one as well. So a private college has some similarities where students and the offerings there are for 4 years, and students go to a private college to receive a bachelor's degree. There are some private colleges that may also offer a master's program afterwards, but not all do. But private colleges are typically going to be maybe a little bit more expensive kind of programs or colleges as well, with the tuition and the room and fees tend to be a little bit more expensive than, say, a public and a community college as well. Schools, I listed off some examples of schools, but from a sporting standpoint, these are going to be Division II or Division III schools as well. So still NCAA, but smaller classes. Lastly, private colleges, again, are going to be a little bit smaller though than public, where your class sizes are going to be closer to that maybe 20, 25. They're very close to a community college's class size. So when you go to class, you are in more of a classroom setting. And again, you're with about 20 to 25 people as well. And then lastly, on the bottom, community college, what NICC is. So NICC being a community college, typically we see students that come to community colleges with two different routes or a couple different goals. Community colleges have programs that are 2 years or less. So we get a lot of students that want to come to NICC because they want to start at NICC or another community college, and they want to start taking basic general education classes so that they can transfer. So transfer students, you can see on the bottom where the bullet point is, there's the AA and AS. Those stand for Associate of Arts and Associate of Science. Those are our two transfer programs that a community college may offer and that we at NICC offer. So again, students may want to come to NICC because they want to start there because it may be a more affordable option for them. Maybe they want to start at NICC or community college and transfer to the University of Iowa, but they want to start out taking gen ed classes that are more affordable and so on and so forth. So again, transfer level students is where we see a lot of community students that come to a community college. We also see students that come to a community college to do a program that is either 2 years or less, so then they can start working right after they graduate from a community college. And so the AAS stands for Associate of Applied Science. Any program at a community college that is considered AAS are usually going to be 2 years. Once you graduate with that AAS degree, you then can go start working to get a job. The D, the C, and the CPC stand for Diploma, Certificate, or Career Pathway Certificate. A diploma program is typically going to be a program that is 1 year or less. Students graduate with a diploma, and then they go start working out in the field. A certificate program may be a program, let's say if you wanted to work at a high school and coach, and you wanted to coach track, but you need a coaching license or a coaching certificate. Community colleges offer people in public to come to the school or take that certificate program. And so you can see at a community college we offer transfer level degrees. We offer 2-year programs that students can then go start working after they graduate. We offer the 1 year, which is a similar route. And we also offer certificates for adult learners that are coming back that want to get a training again in coaching, or maybe it's a welding certificate, or maybe it's first aid and they need that for their current job, whatever it may be. And so at a community college, we have large offerings as well there. Lastly, what I'll say about community college, big reason why we're here is to talk about some of that financial aid piece and how that works. Typically, community colleges are going to be cheaper, affordable, more affordable options as well for students that want to maybe, again, start here and then transfer, or maybe they want to come to community college, get their 2-year degree, and graduate and start working because it's a more affordable option for them. So again, we've talked a little bit about this, but we always ask students, what is your goal? We have students that come with multiple goals, and we want to work with you and for you at NIACC in order to help you along the way and help reach your goal. So you can see on the form here, or on the chart, that we've got students that come for basically 3 main goals that we see. The first one is employment, like I talked about. Students want to come to NIACC, they want to do a 2-year program or a 1-year program, graduate, and then go start working. And that's a great goal to have. It's something that we work with you strongly in order to help you along the way. Transfer programs. So I talked a little bit about this as well. That's another high popular program that we have at NIACC, where students will choose to either do the Associate of Arts or Associate of Science, and then be able to look to transfer then to a 4-year school to work for their bachelor's degree. Now, with a transfer program, one thing I will note is that when you graduate from NIACC with an AA or AS, especially if you've been with us for 1 year, if not 2 years, lots of students are going to graduate and transfer to their next school as a junior. You're not necessarily coming to NIACC just to take classes and then start over at your next school. We have many partnerships with 4-year colleges that when you transfer to a partnership school, you would be transferring in as a junior as long as you have the sufficient credits completed at NIACC. And then lastly, we have students that aren't sure. They're undecided. And if you're not sure, that's okay. I always tell the small story that when I was at NIACC, honestly, I changed my major 4 times before I finally figured out what I wanted to do. And so even if you're undecided, a lot of students come to NIACC, they work with our career center that I'll be talking about here in a little bit. They work with other professionals we have on campus in order to figure out what they want to do, and then research careers and figure out what some earning potential within their area of interest could be. And then they work towards, again, that 2-year program, that 1-year program, that certificate program, or a transfer program as well. But no matter what your goal is, in the top right, you can see this is a stat we take great pride in, that 96% of our students are employed or continuing their education once they graduate from NIACC. And again, that's a big proponent for why we want to work with you and for you in order to help you accomplish whatever your goal is. Again, education with a purpose is what we want to offer to you all at NIACC. No matter what it is, whether it's transfer, getting a job, or maybe you're not sure, we want to work with you and for you in order to help you find out what the goal is so that we're not wasting your time. You can get from point A to point B. Just a few more facts about NIACC as we kind of continue on here. We have an average class size of 14, and a lot of our students really enjoy that because they don't feel like just the number. They really get to know their classmates. They get to know their instructors. In fact, it is not very uncommon for a lot of our instructors that are working with students through their programs to know where you're from, what high school you went to, maybe even what mom and dad's name are, and so on there. So we really take great pride in building those relationships because you will be in a smaller class size than, say, a public university and probably a private college as well. But we want to build that relationship with you so that we get to know you. But with that being said, between our 2 campuses in Kelmer and Piazza, we have over 6,000 students. So you're going to meet new people and you're going to make new friends as well. We have multiple students that will come from the tri-state area, the Illinois area, but we will also have lots of students that come from states away. We also have students that are international students that come to NIACC as well. And so there's a lot of students, a lot of different people that you get to meet along with that smaller class size. So you get to really know one another as well. And support services. So I always tell the kind of cliche that when you come to NICC, we don't just give you the keys to the car and let you go all by on your own. We want to help you as you are a student here at NICC. And so here, these are some support services that are included within your tuition and other fees. Academic advising is a big one. That is actually a really big proponent where with your academic advising, you get set up with an advisor who you meet with before every semester or schedule a phone call, whatever it may be, to figure out what your academic plan looks like, your class schedule, your making sure your grades are up to date, making sure you're on pace, and so on. There is awfully important for us at NICC to make sure we're offering that academic support for you. So your advisor works with you your whole way here at NICC. Career services. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we have a career services on campus that students can work with in order to look for job opportunities like internships, or maybe they want to look for just general job opportunities in the area. A lot of your instructors that you'd be working with at NICC have close connections with local or area employers as well. So as far as looking for a job or looking for help once you get close to graduation, we have a service for you to offer that as well. Counseling. We have a counselor on both of our campuses at Kilmer and Piasta. This counselor can be seen for anything, whether it be a school-related maybe issue that is going on, or maybe a relationship issue, or maybe you just need to talk to someone. We do have a full-time counselor at both campuses that are always looking for appointments with students as well. We do offer disability services and learning accommodations, and so we have some students that may have had learning accommodations when they were in high school. If you come to NICC, we offer those as well to be continued on through our disability services. And we have a great disability services that works with you to make sure you get the need that you need. And then lastly, our Learning Center, Writing Center, which is kind of like our big tutoring center at both campuses. The people that work in the center are typically going to be teachers that have maybe taught at NICC in years past and are very familiar with the curriculum and what's being taught. But essentially, it's a center that is waiting for students to come in that need learning or writing help, writing a paper, doing a gen ed assignment, maybe for public speaking, whatever it may be. We are always looking, our instructors that are and the tutors that are in the Learning and Writing Center are waiting for students like yourself to come on in and get the help that you need. You don't need to schedule an appointment. You don't need to necessarily call ahead of time. You just need to come in. And as long as we're open, we'll be working with you on your homework help as well. And then lastly, before I hand off to Arlen, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other opportunities we have on campus. And so classroom, in college work isn't always about the papers and the tests and everything. We do offer a wide array of activities for you to do while you're on campus as well. And so life outside the classroom. On both campuses, we have a student life department. And at our student life department, they work very hard to offer some of these offers you can see below. With our athletics program, the one athletic program sport that we have is sport shooting, which would be similar for those of you that maybe it'd be like trap shooting in high school, where you're measuring shooting clay pigeons and so on and so forth there, so you can see a picture on the screen. Entertainment options, we have brought many entertainers to campus. That may include hypnotists, that may include local bands, that may include just general entertainers overall, and there have been really cool ones over the years to see as well. We do have fitness centers at both campuses that can be utilized as well. So the fitness centers are either a discounted rate or just easy for you to just walk in and use the fitness centers as a student for both campuses as well. Housing assistance. So one thing to note with NICC is that we are not necessarily a residential college. We do not necessarily have dormitories, but we do offer housing assistance for those of you that are looking to live on or near one of the campuses. Housing assistance, typically we work with you to work with some of the landlords in the area that work and have apartments maybe in town that they are looking to rent out to students and whatnot. But we have a lot of really great landlords at both locations in both campuses that work with you with a lot of students throughout the years to get any housing assistance you would need. Intramurals we offer as well. We have a leadership opportunity group called Impact, which is a leadership group on both campuses that works to bring a lot of these entertainers, that work to bring, we have one day in particular that's called Exotic Animal Day, and you can see on the picture at the bottom left there, where we have a company that brings in exotic animals like snakes and they look like foxes and different animals from long ways away, but that people can hang out with and see and pet and feel. But that's one of the things that the impact students do as well. So they work hard to bring, again, those entertainment options. We have lots of professional clubs and organizations on campus. And then the last thing I'll mention is our service trip. We have a group of students that go on a service trip every year, and it's open to any student. Our student life department runs it and leads the program. And this service trip has gone a lot of different places. This past year, they went to Phoenix, Arizona. They've gone to San Francisco. They've gone to Tennessee before. And essentially, it's for any student that wants to go on this service trip to provide service. They've done everything from feeding homeless to packaging meals to packaging toiletry and hygienic items for people that are in need. And the list goes on and on and on. The nice thing about that service trip is that's very affordable, and we at NIACC work if you need assistance. For example, a colleague of mine went on this past year's service trip, and for $250, that covered their plane ticket there and back, housing, as well as some meals. And so our student life department works very hard to work with you if you want to go on this trip to figure out options as far as coming up with that payment to go on the service trip. So again, a lot of different options for fun activities that we have to offer with our student life department and NIACC. So at this time, what I would like to do is I would like to hand it off to Arlen, who is going to talk a little bit about financial aid, but more in particular, the Last Dollar Scholarship. So Arlen, I'll let you take it from here. I'll unmute you first, and then I will let you take it from, okay, should be good to go.
Thanks, Blake. My name is Arlen Bonst Anderson. I'm at NIC this year as an AmeriCorps College Success Coach. Gotten to work on both campuses, and now the third campus being worked from home. But I started the year in Calmar, then moved down to Dubuque in the Piasta campus. And I work with students across the district that are receiving the Last Dollar Scholarship. So on this first slide here that I'm going to talk about, you'll see that it says your tuition could be covered. And this is a list of programs, all these programs we offer at NICC, and they're all covered by the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship. So these are our programs for next fall. As you can see, we've got quite a few. We are, I believe, right around 25 programs at this point for next fall. And you might also notice that they cover a pretty wide range of areas. We've got a set of credentials in the agricultural and farming industry. We've got things in the computer analyst field, some stuff in the medical and dental assisting fields there, and then various other degrees that are just going to have a goal of just getting you a job when you graduate. These are all things that you can get a job immediately after graduating with the credential that you get, and they have a really solid base minimum salary. So these are all things that are considered high-paying fields in some way, and there's advancement in all these fields. Just because they're something you can get a job in right away doesn't mean that they're not transferable. As you can see, like the nursing degree is covered here, and you can certainly go on and get a bachelor's in nursing if you wanted to pursue that. And there are other examples as well of programs where you could still transfer those Last Dollar programs and just have that first 2 years covered. I can move on now here, Blake. So this slide here is about our tuition. So the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship is only available to Iowa residents. So we'd be looking at the in-state tuition and fees cost. So you can see it's $198, so right around $200, and that's a per credit cost. But like I said, the Last Dollar Scholarship tuition is covered, so that would be what you'd be saving on every credit. You're saving about $200 if you have the Last Dollar Scholarship. You can see here in the bottom left corner that estimated annual tuition is right around $5,000, and like Blake mentioned, it is quite significantly more affordable than the average private college and even public college tuition. But with the last dollar scholarship, like I said, you're looking to save all of that tuition cost, which is truly a rare opportunity in today's college scope. So I'd like to talk to you more about this here on the next slide. All right, so here's some of the basics of the last dollar scholarship. So I mentioned it's a state-sponsored scholarship. That means that all this, the money for the scholarship is coming directly through the state of Iowa. It's part of what's called the Future Ready Iowa program, which is a state initiative to invest in the education level of our workforce, essentially, and to get a more skilled workforce and a more prepared workforce as we continue on in the 21st century here. So what that means is that the state has offered a significant amount of money to put into tuition for Iowans that are going into fields that we know that we need workers in. So the way the scholarship actually works is that it covers the remaining cost of tuition after your other state and federal financial aid has been calculated. So what that means is if you were to file a FAFSA, apply for financial aid, and you received your package and you had $1,000 left to pay for a semester, then your last dollar scholarship award would be about $1,000, or would be $1,000, sorry. If you had $2,000 left to pay, your award would be $2,000, and so on. It's important to note that this last dollar scholarship award is not based on financial need. And what that means is that when you file the FAFSA, you're not gonna, it doesn't take into account how much money you or your family make. The last dollar scholarship award is only based on what program you're in and you're being an Iowa resident. And in fact, technically the awards will be larger if you have, if you're not receiving other awards based on financial need, like the Pell Grant or something, because the last dollar scholarship in that case would make up more of the gap in your tuition. The most important thing to note for the last dollar scholarship is that you need to file the FAFSA by July 1st. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and that's how you access all sources of federal and state financial aid. That includes federal grants like the Pell Grant, which I mentioned, and that includes all of these state programs, the last dollar scholarship. It also is how you access federal student loans and things like that. So highly recommend that everyone completes a FAFSA, and if you are looking at a last dollar scholarship program, it's especially important that that's done by July 1st, because that is the only way to receive the scholarship. There's no individual application for the scholarship. It's just about having that FAFSA on file by July 1st. So I'll talk now a little bit about the two awarding groups. If you're coming directly out of high school, that's what's called a Group 1 student, and there are two groups. So for students coming directly out of high school, you are asked to take full-time semesters, which means taking at least 12 credits each semester. The reason that the state requires this is because they are trying to get a surge in the workforce and get skilled workers out there. So for people that are coming directly out of high school, they are trying to promote kind of a traditional student path where you can get your degree done in just a few years and then move into the workforce. For adult learners over 20, there is a little more flexibility. You only have to take half-time semesters, so that would be 6 credits. That allows adult learners to spread out their degree over a little more time if they need to, especially if they already have a job or have childcare, things like that to take care of. So those are the two groups. For the most part, in either case, you're going to be able to receive enough awards to cover all of the tuition from a program. That's not an issue. It's just that if you're in the adult group, you aren't required to take 12 credits at once. You only have to take 6. There are a few ongoing eligibility requirements. Like I mentioned, every semester you'll have to be at your specific credit minimum at least to receive the scholarship. Those also will all have to be classes that are in your course program, and prerequisites are not covered, so you will need to be in the program directly when you're receiving the scholarship. A few other things for ongoing eligibility: you do have to maintain satisfactory academic progress, which just means keeping your GPA above a 2.0 and a completion rating above 67%, or So as long as you're eligible for financial aid through student academic progress, you're eligible to receive the last dollar scholarship. There are some additional services that I'll talk about actually as we go. There's some slides for them. So if we want to click again here, Blake. All right, so before I get into some of our additional services, here are just a few examples of how a last dollar scholarship looks within an award package. So as you can see, these are 4 examples of student financial aid award packages. And they all have slightly different amounts when you look at the Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship Award. And actually, some of the amounts are drastically different. But if you look to the right of that, they all have the same statement where it says student pays $0. And that's because the last dollar scholarship is subtracting out the remaining cost of tuition that is left in their package here. So as you can see at the top example, that student has $2,722 to pay, and they're not eligible for any other funding. So their Iowa Last Dollar Scholarship Award covers that entire $2,722. But then if you look down to example 2, this student actually has a pretty significant Pell Grant. They're also receiving a Kibbe Grant. And between those 2, they have actually received more funding than the cost of their tuition. So they're going to get about a $16 refund, and they also are able to receive a minimum award from the Last Dollar Scholarship to help with book costs. And I think that'll be good for examples. The point is, it gets you down to $0 in every case. Even if you're fully covered, you're going to be able to receive a minimum award. So here's a couple of the additional services that we offer with the program. The first one is the Future Ready Iowa Mentoring Program. So through the mentoring program, you can be paired with someone in the field that you're looking to go into. And it's going to be someone with at least 2 years of experience in that career field. And this is a great opportunity for you to connect with someone that can tell you a lot more about what it's actually like to work in the career that you are going to school for. So once you're connected with a mentor, you will be able to keep in touch with them on a regular basis. I believe the goal is to have a touch point about weekly, whether that's just a text message once a week, and then maybe some more in-depth things every other week, something like that. But it's really, the idea is that you can kind of build that relationship with your mentor, however it works for both of you and whatever fits your needs and is the most beneficial for you. But there are certainly a lot of things that can be gained from having professional connections, and the mentoring program doesn't directly offer or say that you're going to get internships or anything like that, but knowing people in the field and having those connections is really one of the most important ways to open yourself up to some of those opportunities, and like job shadows, internships, or just having even someone, a mentor could be a great reference for you if you end up applying to a job in the field after that relationship. So the mentoring program has been a positive start this year, and we hope to have more growth in that next year as well. And then there's also a Future Ready Iowa texting program. And what these are going to be is it's an opt-in program, so you don't automatically, and the same thing is true for the mentoring program. This is not, you don't have to do this with the Last Dollar Scholarship, but they're offered. The texting program is an opportunity to receive bulk messages from Future Ready Iowa. For NIACC, the messages generally come from me as the college success coach. Unfortunately, there's not someone in my position at every college, so I work closely with representatives from Iowa College Aid, Future Ready Iowa, and we develop the messages together, and they go out across the state, and students respond across the state. And through those messages, you are able to have direct connection with someone like myself or a direct representative from Future Ready Iowa. So the messages themselves that you'll be receiving are bulk messages that they might have encouraging messages about midterms coming up, or they might be a reminder about FAFSA deadlines, or something along those lines. But you are also able to just contact that number at any time to receive whatever kind of support you need. So it's a really good way to stay connected to your education and keep getting those reminders and nudges throughout the school year. They help keep you on top of things and also give you really direct connection to support systems. Yep. So I'm pretty much going to hand it back off to Blake here, but just would like to finish it up by saying that in terms of the next steps with the last dollar scholarship, the first thing to remember is that FAFSA deadline and that there is no application. So just make sure that you get that FAFSA in, and since it's the last dollar scholarship, it has a special deadline of July 1st. But other than that, I'll hand it back off to Blake here.
Awesome. Thank you, Arlen. Appreciate it. Appreciate the information there. And I know that when we get a complete wrap up here, we're down our last few slides, but if there's any questions, I know that we'll make sure to answer those. And Arlen will be here too. So if you have questions, please, again, put those in the chat box and we'll make sure to address those. So I just have a few more slides for you guys to kind of wrap things up here. One slide, just with a couple important deadlines. Submit your free application for federal student aid or your FAFSA, available annually. October 1st is going to be of your senior year, is usually the earliest that you are able to fill that out. Okay, so as far as FAFSA, like Arlen talked about, if you're a junior right now and you're looking about when can I start to fill it out, it's available annually October 1st. If you are past that point, if you maybe are a senior now or older, you can fill that FAFSA out as any time, like Arlen said. Please make sure to fill that out and whatnot there. I'm actually going to jump down to number 3, just to reiterate, like Arlen said, we really do suggest to students to make sure that you do fill it out before July 1st, because state of Iowa grants need to have that FAFSA on file by then. So if you're planning to come to NIACC in the fall, summer, whatever it is, or later on even, we really do suggest that if you are able to fill out the FAFSA, fill that out as soon as possible so you can get as much grant money as you possibly can. We also do have one other thing related to scholarships, of course, but is different from our last dollar scholar, is the NIACC Foundation Scholarship. That application deadline was April 1st. That is a simple Google form that you can fill out that gives just some basic information about you coming to NIACC and whatnot. Our foundation does review those and then awards students scholarship money as well. Although we are past that deadline, you still can fill out that application. It's no guarantee that you would get a scholarship amount, but some students do fill it out past that deadline and are still able to receive something. So we do suggest to students, although we are past the priority deadline, that you're more than welcome to still fill out that application scholarship for the NIACC Foundation. And then lastly, one last thing about NIACC Foundation or NIACC financial aid is that, of course, knowing the grant money that you are going to receive from the states, as well as scholarships, go towards your financial or towards your total amount. Now, hopefully, in this sense, you get the last dollar scholarship, and then you're not looking at a larger number. Of course, it's essentially taken care of for you. But if for some reason, if you aren't in a program or if the last dollar scholarship isn't something that you would receive, a lot of students when they are going through may take out student loans to complete their payment for college, as well as look at work study options as well. But with that being said, you can see some numbers on the bottom. $12.2 million of financial aid is awarded, again, for students that maybe fill out the FAFSA. If you don't get the last dollar scholarship, there is a lot of money that gets awarded for financial aid. 70% of students receive financial aid. Again, all the more reason we suggest to students to fill out that FAFSA. And then lastly, I mentioned that NIACC Foundation Scholarship. That's a large amount of money that was awarded over the past year, and so or over this past amount of time. And so again, that NIACC Foundation Scholarship, go on there, fill that out. It doesn't take long at all, and see if you are a recipient of anything. So lastly, with our presentation here, these are your final steps. These are your steps that if NIACC is for you and you want to come to school here and do one of the many programs, or whatever it may be, here are your final steps. They are to apply online, which is a free application that costs you nothing, and you can always remove your application anytime. So we always tell students to apply if you are interested. Of course, number 2, we just talked about with the financial aid, applying for scholarships. Like Arlen said, that last dollar scholarship doesn't cost you, it doesn't require anything other than just filling out your FAFSA. Number 3, sending in your transcripts to NICC. One important thing I do mention to students is that it is important that if you went to a previous college, that you contact that school to have them mail one or them send one to us, so that it's an official copy, so that we can look, our registrar can look at to see any classes that may transfer over and such. Number 4, schedule and complete placement assessments. So of course, these are assessments that the college that at NICC for reading, writing, and math, depending on your program, you may have to take, not to get into NICC, but just to test where you are with those classes. Your advisor then would help kind of schedule you with classes based on your results for there. But again, those aren't necessarily tests that you'd have to take to get into NICC. Number 5, meet with your advisor and register for classes like we talked about. And then number 6, pay your tuition and head to class. And so that's kind of your next steps. This is where people like Bailey, my co-host, and myself work with students every single day that are on this timeline or on this path and need help with anything. So again, if you have any questions about this process at all, please feel free to let us know. So with that, that kind of wraps up our visit. Again, I really appreciate you guys checking out our virtual visit today with, of course, a lot of information on the Last Dollar Scholarship as well. I really do appreciate you guys hopping on and hope that you got a lot of information out of it. We covered a lot in about a 45-minute span, but I do hope that if you had your questions answered and everything like that. So with that, I do want to transition into the Q&A. One note before we do that is Bailey will be putting a survey link in the chat box. Again, that's a survey that we really would appreciate the information that I presented on, the slides, or information that Arlen presented on, whatever it is. We really would appreciate if you don't mind taking the time to fill out that survey. That again, Bailey will put that in the chat box. That if you feel free to take the time to fill it out, that'd be awesome, so that we can just learn a little bit about how we did. And again, anyone who fills out a survey gets a free t-shirt. So if you get a free t-shirt out of it, I'd say go for it. So with that, also Bailey, I want to ask you, and I'll unmute you here, Bailey. Is there any questions in the chat box for Arlen or for myself at this time?
As of right now, no, there are no questions right now, Blake.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. Again, let Bailey or I know if you have any questions about anything. Feel free to call the college, email us, whatever it is, and we'll be more than happy to help you along the way. So again, thank you all very, very much for tuning in, and hope you guys have a good day.